making mistake after mistake after mistake, it feels like. So I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm looking forward to being grateful with you all. I was doing some preparation for this, and I found this quote from Amelia Earhart. And Amelia Earhart said, "The more one does and sees and feels, the more one is able to do. The one more genuinely may," I wrote this down wrong. Somebody please tell me that my mistakes are stopping now. No more mistakes. What I should have done is just read it right here, right off the board. So here we go. The more one does and sees and feels, the more one is able to do. And the more genuine may be one's appreciation of fundamental things like home and love and understanding companionship. That's Amelia Earhart. So what she's saying is that gratitude deepens with experience, and it reminds us to value simple, essential parts of what makes us human. I love that. I love that thought with her. So sometimes we appreciate things differently. Hi, Paula. Hi, Rhonda. I did mess up my time, K and Ro. It's been something else. But I'd like to ask you a question based on the Amelia Earhart quote, and that is, what is something you appreciate more now, at your age now, than you appreciated when you were in your 20s and 30s? Is there anything that fits in with that? Oh, look at that. Mrs. Paula did her arms work out. That's fantastic. We all are a little bit envious of Rhonda's amazing arms. So, yeah, it's fantastic. So if you can think of something that you're grateful for now more than you were when you were younger, that might be one. You might be grateful, Paula, that you know Rhonda now so that you can get stronger, more fit arms at your age now rather than when you were in your 20s and 30s. Some of you may not know this, that I was the 4th grade arm wrestling champion at Linton Avenue School. I know it's shocking that I ever did anything remotely athletic. But I was an amazing arm wrestler. I was co-champion with a girl named Beth Hatfield. And Beth Hatfield was a preacher's kid. And now I'm a preacher's mom. So I think it's kind of funny. You know how we just stitch back and forth. So there you go. There's my athletic prowess as an arm wrestling champion. Anyway, if you want to pop your gratitudes, 1, 2, 3, 12 in the chat, that would be fantastic. If you'd like to like this video, that would be great too. We're always thrilled when people show up and share their gratitudes and intentions every week on this broadcast. I've had challenges like ever since I woke up. I woke up super early. I'm grateful that I'm able to wake up. That's a way to flip it. It's like I woke up really early because I could not get back to sleep. So the way to flip that into gratitude is just like I did. Well, I'm grateful that I'm able to wake up. I'm grateful that I was able to get more recycling out to the trash because I had extra recycling. I did a bunch of chores last night. I'm like, man, I have all this recycling and the trash cans are already out. So I was up early enough that I could go out there and take the trash out. That was exciting. It's pretty thrilling when I'm sitting at my desk at 6 a.m. when the trash man comes by and I know that I have extra stuff out there. Okay, so Rhonda, thank you. Today, she's more grateful. She's saying this. Entreaty by Rhonda Hensley is saying, today I am more grateful for my home and the simple pleasures of life than when I was younger. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. I would say, I know that Mrs. Paula has talked about being grateful for her mobility. And I think that's something I know I totally took for granted when I was in my 20s and 30s. Another rare moment of athleticism was when I was on a co-ed softball team. And I played on that team for about 4 years. And I stopped only because I was very pregnant and I was still out there. And I was like, Julie, you really shouldn't be playing. Like my baby was born in August and I was playing, in May. So it was entertaining, if nothing else. But I never gave it a thought. I never gave it a thought that I wouldn't always be strong enough and able enough, because I have really good upper body strength. And you might be able to tell from my hands, I have really I always say these are like hands that milk cows and stuff. I have these long, big hands. They're not very feminine. Hi, Sally. We're talking about what we're grateful for, and our quote we opened with was from Amelia Earhart, appreciating fundamental things like home and companionship. Are there other things you're grateful for now? So what we're talking about that in relationship to our ages, most of us are in our 50s and above. What are you grateful for now that you weren't grateful for when you were younger? So we heard about mobility. Mobility is an awesome blessing. So many do not have the blessing of being able to move. You are right. Rhonda's greeting Sally. You know, my sister, I've kind of alluded to this, but my sister was in a really bad car accident this summer and she broke her neck. And the road to recovery has been very, very hard. Yesterday, she was saying how her physical therapist, she has a physical therapist who comes to the house 3 days a week. She has a full-time caregiver. She has an amazing husband. In fact, my sister and brother-in-law, their relationship kind of reminds me of Kay and Rose. They're a great partnership. But Sue was saying how she actually went from the living room to the kitchen without stopping. And she stood at the kitchen and she's doing exercises. You know how you can use the countertop to stabilize yourself. And yeah, so that's pretty amazing that she's getting her mobility back after the struggle she went through this summer. Hey, Rebounding with Cheryl. Oh, I'm glad that you're on lunch listening in. And as a matter of fact, Sally, Rebounding with Cheryl could probably tell you a lot. Actually, Rebounding with Cheryl would probably tell Tracy a lot about the lymphatic system, because rebounding helps with lymphatic system a lot, at least from my experience, Cheryl. I hope I'm not misquoting. That's my understanding. So we have 13 people in the house. We're talking about gratitude. If you have anything you'd like to say that you're grateful for, that would be fantastic. And speaking of Amelia Earhart, there are a number of us in here who'd like to go adventuring, like Kay and Row Hiking Happens, goes adventuring on a regular basis. In fact, a little bird told me that Kay and Row were out hiking in the snow again yesterday or day before yesterday. Okay, I'm right. That's good. It's so good to get something right, that rebounding helps with the lymphatic system. I was going to say rebounding is one of those things that's on my list. I have this list of before I go on my road trip adventure and when I get back from my road trip adventure. So no, Cheryl was hooping and rebounding at the same time. Oh my gosh, that must also be really good for your brain. If you can hoop and rebound simultaneously, that would be amazing. That would be amazing for your brain. So are there any shifts that you have about adventuring, and how has that impacted what you do and how you feel? That's a good question to ask, because we might look at adventures differently. Hey, Solitude Soul, so nice to see you. I'm glad you came back. You were here last week. It's good to see you again. So I know for me, I've become braver with some of my adventures and less brave in others. And building my courage muscle is something that I'm definitely working on. I don't know if any of you are working on your courage muscle. I'm kind of over being scared of things. And one of my gratitudes that I want to share with you is that, and this also has to do with Kay and Row, and that is because, and I wrote her name down here. So Lori at Ever After 50s lives in Canada, where it's very cold all the time. And she kept seeing my walking videos, that I was out in the cold, that I was outside, even though it was cold. I'm outside, even though it's snowing. You see me all bundled up. I would say Californian, not used to the cold, is very different than Canadian, but still, cold is cold is cold. But yesterday, Lori went out in the cold. I think she's in Alberta, and was walking. And she said that my walking videos inspired her. And I thought, wow, to have someone to be inspired about walking through my walking. People are usually inspired by me to do writing. They'll say, I wrote a poem for the first time because of you. But when she said that, I was just like, wow. And I'm totally inspired to keep walking because I have a goal to go hike on Pochuck Mountain with Kay and Row this spring. And so it's interesting how, and a deep part of gratitude is how we can help one another grow, and be grateful and acknowledge those who have helped us along the way. So, and I think that as I age, sometimes when I was younger, I had a bigger ego. or I was more impressed with myself. Now, since I have completely embraced my eccentricities, doing things like walking around with a book on my head will do that publicly and openly on video. I'm much more willing to say, this person helped me, that person helped me. I had a weakness here, and I borrowed the strength of that person. Yes, isn't that a great feeling? Yeah. Ken Rowe said, Ken Rowe Hiking Happens said, that is so cool, Julie. We have had people tell us we inspired them to hike the AT. It's a great feeling. Isn't it a great feeling? I mean, from Ken Rowe's videos, I found out the Appalachian Trail is literally right down the street from the manse where I've been living. I knew it was nearby because it only made sense, because, it's over here, when over on this side of the road, when you go down to Liberty Loop area, and it's up here when you're in Unionville. So, I mean, I live on Unionville Avenue. Nobody heard that. But so I knew that it must go somewhere, but there's no markings on the street. And as I told the people who are taking care of the trail maintenance, told me, the county doesn't mark the road. And so that's why I didn't know all this time I was here. So welcome for everyone who's come in the room since the last welcome. I missed some people because I was talking too much, but it's great to see you. Okay, so gratitudes. We've shared some gratitudes. And Solitude Soul has lots of wisdom to share. They say, ego is one thing, but as we age, the soul starts to overpass many rational boundaries and prioritize experience to nurture itself. It's all about feeling, embracing, and opening up for everything. That's exactly what Amelia Earhart was talking about. That's a great insight. So we've had some people share their gratitudes. If you haven't yet, please put that in the chat. And also would love to hear about intentions. As I was preparing today for intentions, a couple of things that I dug out of my files is that being intentional means your actions, thoughts, and decisions are aligned with your values and purpose. It has to do with mindfulness and growing in mindfulness and awareness. It also, intentionality has to do with being and doing, not just doing. With intentionality, we are almost, or it is hoped, that we could take some time, take a breath, and allow that breath to fill us. So that, thank you, Ken Rowe. I just saw that and I'm like, oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative, so grateful for moderators. There's a few of you on here who are moderators, and I really appreciate you being here and doing that task. Yes, I have heard that people say fear is a liar, just like depression is a liar. I've heard that phrase also. And yeah, like I said, I'm working to eliminate that. Sometimes fear is so subconscious, meaning it's underneath what we are aware of. And that's what makes it so insidious and so difficult to eliminate. I would say that for my own purposes, that getting rid of fear and being more courageous has to do a lot with working with the body again, because our muscles will hold it, our body remembers it, and that's one of my things that I'm working on now with my body, is to relax my fascia, especially. If you don't know what the fascia is, it's the connective tissue, and I hold, like, even sitting here, like putting the book on my head. I know that sounds strange, but it really has helped me to feel my body more and to be in touch with my body more. And my shoulders, if I'm not careful, I'll have my shoulders like my earrings, without even knowing it, because it is totally in the subconscious level. The Solitude Soul is coming up with all kinds of very thoughtful things here. Yes, courage and fear, exactly. I was going to say courage and fear is something I talk about regularly. It's something that I've worked on for a long time, since I was a kid, because I do a lot of things that people think are really courageous. I'm an actor, so I get on stage and I perform in front of people live. It's almost like without, anything can happen when you're on stage. You have to be ready. to work with your fellow actors to get through moments when something strange happens. You never know what's going to happen with an audience member when you're in the middle of your monologue. You never know when there's going to be a person who's under the influence of something who will want to engage with you when you're on stage. It's not easy. And yet I'm exhilarated by it. Probably like some people are exhilarated by jumping out of airplanes. I would like to jump out of an airplane, actually. I'm concerned about my knees, so strengthen those knees. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit of what Solitude Soul said. One special rare case of gratitude came from a difficult moment I witnessed. A patient dying from cancer with extreme pain being embraced by a nurse who says nothing but only embraces. Therefore, I view gratitude as existing in the medium of someone else, taking into consideration the other person is bypassing rational boundaries so that you can exist free from suffering. That's a really interesting thought. And I would say, yeah, gratitude doesn't have to be vocalized, verbalized. Gratitude can be a fully embodied thing, too. Just like I just took that deep breath. And breath can be very invigorating and also a sign of great gratitude. The word inspiration and breath and air all comes from the same root. Etymological language, that kind of thing. So. Okay, anyone have any intentions? We haven't shared. I haven't seen an intention go by unless I wasn't paying close attention. But if you'd like to state an intention, that would be fantastic. I think maybe someone did. Let's see. And I think I actually got the settings right so that our comments will be saved. Okay, no, I don't see any. So some of my intentions are, hey, Miss M. My intentions are to be calm and peaceful. Oh yeah, it is awesome to be able to breathe deeply. And I have a chronic lung disease, which doesn't slow me down, but it caused a lot of problems in the past. And I'm continuing to work with it. It's just like a fact of life. And it is a blessing to be able to breathe deeply. And I think about the things that help that capacity, help the lung capacities, like singing, which I do. And my choir director, I did a solo last summer. I've done a solo the last 3 summers. And she's like, wow, your breath control is amazing. That always makes me feel really good. So, yes, a simple act of breathing and breath can change the mindset. You can shift your mood from bad to good. Absolutely. I often say we're a chronically underbreathed society, meaning people don't get enough breath practice these days. So there's a lot of shallow breathing. We don't get deep enough into our lungs to get out the breath that's been sitting there for a while. But one of my intentions is to be calm and centered about my upcoming road trip. I'm working on making a journal, especially for my road trip. I was working on that this morning. It just feels so good. This is my intention. This is my affirmation, my affirmative intention for the road trip. And it says, I am experiencing a restorative, delightful road trip filled with adventures and curated conviviality that will long be remembered with great love and joy. Remember, conviviality is my word of the year, for those of you who don't know that. So that's my intention. I'm also working with this quote from Betty Smith in The Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Look at everything always as though you were seeing it either for the first or last time. And I think, again, because of the age that we are, we need to remember that, or I need to remember that, because when I was in my 20s, I was always saying, I'll go back there. I went to Guanajuato, Mexico. I'm always like, I'll go back to Guanajuato, Mexico. I don't think I'll ever go back to Guanajuato, Mexico. Hi, Pam. So good to see you. Rhonda says, my intentions for this week is to focus on the actions I need to take daily. Daily actions, daily habits, daily practice. It's interesting, we can use all these same different words to mean the same thing depending upon how you think about it. So a habit, a practice. Yes, women of a particular age. Exactly. That is I. So every place that I'm going on my road trip this time, as I make my way across the country from the Mid-Atlantic, where I am, down through the south. I'm going south and then across. And I'll be going to places that I probably won't ever go to again. I'm going to be going through on Route 8 between El Paso. I'm going to go after I spend a whirlwind trip in Dallas area, where I'm going to be seeing a bunch of people, new friends, old friends, family members. I'm going to go to El Paso, where I've never been. I'll probably never go again. And then I'll go down through, I think I'm going to stay in Gila Bend in Arizona. I've never stayed in Gila Bend. That's one of the reasons I'm staying in Gila Bend. So I'm recognizing that I'll probably never pass that way again, realistically. And I had to say, no, I'm not going to be doing the upper Midwest. I will not be going to Yellowstone this year. I will not be going to the Grand Tetons this year. I will not be going to some of those other places that I really wanted to go, because there just isn't the time right now. So looking at everything as if it's the first or the last time. So it's so good to see you all here. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet liked this video, I'd appreciate it. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, Solitude Soul is saying take things one step at a time instead of going to the very end. So the suggestion is, say you want to learn Italian, don't spend a lot of time trying to map out your path from start to finish. I would say yes, and there's so many times that I know that I will deviate from the path because there's something really exciting there. I would say, as far as YouTube goes, one of my most popular videos is about Altoona, Pennsylvania. I was not planning to go to Altoona, Pennsylvania, or that little town that I can't even remember. I was going for a morning walk, and this is something I'm going to be doing on my road trip. I'm going to go for a morning walk, I'm going to go for a picnic lunch, and I'm going to take a walk after the end of the driving day. So these are going to be short hops where I go to places along the path. And I know that I'll find quirky spots like me that I didn't expect to find. Though, like Altoona, and there's another spot in Pennsylvania. People love those videos of me just showing up and being in awe of whatever I see. Oh, that is wonderful, Paula. Paula says, my intention is to invite the Lord into every area of my life instead of plodding along on my own. Excellent. And Pam says, hello, I'm working at my computer. Daughter leaves tomorrow, lesson starting, feeling very behind the 8 ball. I can understand that too. I would say today, everything was going wrong. I literally have not had anything go smoothly the way it's supposed to. I'll let Pam answer that question. If you don't see it, Pam, Paul is curious if you were a student or homeschooling mom, or what's the situation there as far as the lesson goes and your daughter leaving. And yeah, it is a great intention. I really appreciate that. I would say my day went off the rails a little bit this morning when I realized I didn't have any milk, and I needed milk for my breakfast. And so I had to run to Acme. And when I got to Acme, and I was running to Acme in between events, I had an appointment till 8:30, and then I had my premiere at 9, which got messed up. And as I was in my car driving into the Acme parking lot, and if you're not from an area where there are Acme stores, one of my California friends said, you have Acme? Acme's actually a place? Yes, it's actually a store. My granddaughter called me, and so of course I had to pick up. And that was disconcerting, discombobulating, because first she called and I didn't have my phone connected. It was on Bluetooth. That's rare. Then I called her back, and I was FaceTiming. She was FaceTiming. The baby loves to FaceTime because she likes to see Granny. And so when I got home, my video started working, and then I couldn't hear her voice. And I just kept talking to her as if I could hear her, but I couldn't. So I was definitely off from then on. And I feel really grounded now that I'm here with all of y'all. Pam says, I'm a teacher, create high school courses online, and teach piano and voice lessons out of her home, which is wonderful. I took voice. In fact, the reason I act in theater is because I took voice. And I had a radio show. I don't think if y'all know that, but I had a radio show. And I took singing lessons to work my voice. Again, breath. I don't know if Soul, our friend Soul, is here anymore. But when the singing lessons ended, I took acting lessons, and that's when I started acting, and it totally changed my life. And Pam's talking about her leaving the classroom in 23, 24. That's happened to a lot of teachers. That's happened with a lot of teachers. And I worked in the public schools for a couple years, much shorter than most career teachers or educational pros. All right, we'll go for about 5 more minutes. There's Solitude Soul. Yes, it's hard to prepare content. What did your mother teach in high school, if you'd let me know? I worked in special ed. I actually worked in special ed pretty much my whole life, just not officially. I worked in social services, but then I actually worked in special ed in the classroom setting, which was definitely eye-opening. I love those students. I saw one of those students the other night, and for one thing, I was in his classroom when he was a freshman, and now he's a junior. And he was so happy to see me, and he said, "I'll see you on Monday," thinking that I would be back in the classroom today. And I was just like, okay, even though I knew I wasn't going to. You're struggling, Miss M. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad that you're here on Wednesday at 4. We'll be doing poetry. If y'all are liking poetry, Wednesday at 4, I'll go live with poetry. I love when M comes in and participates there. You are much loved, Miss M. Much loved. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Gratitude will always dominate the feeling of being down when things don't go to plan, when tasks we want to accomplish are still due and not achieved. Yeah. I was going to say that's the one thing that I find people who don't like goals. We had a big conversation about this in one of my groups the other day. And that's so nice how people are gathering around Miss M. Miss M, I hope you're still here and can feel the love that you're receiving. But yes, gratitude can help when you don't, when you're so attached to getting that goal and then it doesn't happen. It's helpful to go into a space of gratitude. I agree. All right, so I'm going to sit here for about another minute. I'm looking at my clock. We've been here for 27 minutes and 4 seconds, so I'll be here for about another minute. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting me. We will be back on Wednesday, if you like poetry, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. I'll be reading more poems. That always seems to have a really good time when we read the poetry. And I some of you saw my video about walking around with a book on my head today. That was very fun to have part 2, check in on that experiment, that quirky experiment that I'm doing. And yes, it's done some of its magic, walking around that way with the posture. And it's really impacted my neck, which I'm really glad for. I want to keep it up. And then I'm also going to start doing road trip videos. I'll be leaving on the 14th, and so we're 9 days out. Either tomorrow or the next day, probably tomorrow because Wednesday's still live. I'm going to be doing, I did a mini road trip over the weekend, and so I will be sharing that video. And I showed you that I made this. So I'm going to talk about different things like getting the car service next Monday, creating myself mindset-wise, which is why I have this journal that I'm working on. And I'm glad to hear that poetry is a great love of your life. Me too. Do y'all see what Pam said? That she walked around for a couple of minutes with a book on your head this morning. She says the hard work. But you can also sit with a book on your head. I do that sometimes too. I think that's how it helps my neck the most. And I didn't say the genesis of this experiment was because the dog on Christmas morning was trying to get everything, and my grandbaby had a package, and I put it on my head. I have done this, putting things on my head, because of the story time at the library. It was a joke. I'd say everything was a hat, and I'd put something on my head, like, whatever was handy, a Lego or something, or a stuffed toy, and I would say, this is a hat. It is catching. We're going to have a whole bunch of women in their 40s and up wearing books on our head to help with our posture. That's awesome. Yes, thank you, Paula. Paul says she wishes all here a good day. I'm glad you're here, Paul. It's always a joy to see you. Thank everybody who joined, and I'm going to see if I actually got something right today and these comments were saved. If that worked, I know that I flipped a switch somehow, and it was all because of your presence here in my life. Thank you so much for being here. The world is a better place because you exist. Thanks so much. We'll see you. either on Wednesday or on a video, or next Monday I'll be here for another gratitude at noon. Thank you. We will be kind and sweet. We appreciate you.